Hey everybody, it's your boy John coming back with another review, this time of the Marvel Epic Collection Thor Volume 11. This goes from 1981 to 1982 and covers the issues 309 through 303 to 319 and annuals number 9 and 10. The primary writer on this is Doug Moench. Doug is best known for his Batman run. He was on Batman Forever, and he did a really good job on Moon Knight also, but he had a Thor run for a few years here. Which comprises Volume 11 and Volume 12. It actually starts in the middle of this volume. The book opens up with an annual book, which is by Chris Claremont. And Chris Claremont has this whole scene going on where Odin is playing chess, and there's some different complications arising with that while Thor has to fight his battle. This is an elegant story. It's absolutely beautiful. This is unfortunately the best story in the book as we get through here. Very enjoyable art. We have Lady Sif, of course, through here. And then Thor goes back to Midgard, or Earth as it's called. And what's bizarre is from this point forward, Thor really is like a street-level superhero. He's like a Spider-Man, just like fighting crime in the streets. And random superheroes show up, but Doug Moench is known for that. I mean, he does a great job in Batman with that. He did a great job in Moon Knight with that. But Thor, it just rings false having Thor, rescuing construction workers and things like that. There's just very minor stories that just don't matter whatsoever. This one was about like a church which was gonna get. They like some mobsters wanted the property or whatever, and so Thor had to rescue him. Very bizarre. There are some backup tales of Asgard, which were much better. I enjoyed the backup tale. Oh, I guess that didn't start in this issue. These are just showing the gods of Asgard. Maybe in the next issue it starts. But the backup tales in these books, which are written by, I think, Mark Grunwald, and I guess Mark Grunwald wrote this issue too, were much better than the stories themselves, as they kind of had like a more Asgardian theme and things like that. This brings the Wrecking Crew back in this one, and it just feels like a generic superhero villain fight. Grunwald wrote a few issues at the beginning of this book, and it all goes to Doug Moench. It's like it was a transitional period, and they didn't know exactly what to do with the book, and so that's what happened right there. This is a great backup feature. It's Balder and what's her name? The evil lady. I can't remember her name. But she's always after Balder and trying to win his affection, even though she's an enemy of Asgard. And this goes through, I think, 2 or 3 issues, and she's trying to trick Balder into loving her. And it's very tragic and very beautiful, and much better than the book itself. This was a very bizarre one, this Death Angel. There's a little kid involved. A lot of these early issues, like they were trying to get a little darker, it seemed like. And so it ends with a kid, who loves this Death Angel, and then he views Thor as a villain for beating him up at the end. Very bizarre. And I enjoyed, like I said, this backup story. This one, Balder actually finds another lover in this, pure blonde gal who's a very nice gal. And then this gal tries to use this relationship to then get Balder back. It's very ugly stuff, and it keeps going from there. Firelord then comes, because I guess Firelord was related to this last guy in the last issue. This was actually one of the more fun issues of the book, where Thor fights a pretty good supervillain here, power-wise, in relation to him. And then we're back to this. I love this art. Who did this art? Keith Pullard. Yeah, he drew a very beautiful woman in this this blonde girl. So I really enjoy the backup feature art here. And the tragedy ends in this issue. Sometimes they have backup features and sometimes they don't. Look at that. That's just like a very emotional piece right there. I really love it. It goes on from there. Now, again, it goes back into these one-offs after that. And there's this weird demon. This was actually a better issue too. This is also Mark Grunwald. I guess I liked the Mark Grunwald issues better than Doug Moench when Moench finally took over. There's a weird Don Blake storyline that's going on, which is Thor's alter ego, and Blake is in this inner city hospital where he's doing charity work or whatever. I'm not even sure how it all works, and very, very odd background there. This was a fun issue because there's literally a monster coming out of people's dreams, and was enjoyable on that level. Let's see. I think there was not a backup feature in that one. Oh, there was. Okay, there is a backup feature. The backup features are really good. They're all Asgard stuff. Thor is stuck in winter in here, and there's a Loki deal going on. This is where Doug Moench comes on. Loki brings a monster into the city, and it's just kind of boring and skippable, eminently skippable. I'd say that would be the talk of most of this volume. It's eminently skippable stuff. There was a Mephisto one, again, just like it was a stupid fight that like ended in a stalemate. Pretty waste of an issue. It felt like filler. Oh, and this is the worst issue of the whole thing. We get a police brutality virtue signaling issue where he just goes off and like starts talking about, you gotta fight all of us, and then Thor goes in and stops it and tries to stop everybody, and then here it is. Let's see. Thor says the nay. Yeah, it's pretty lame all the way around. Very heavy-handed stuff. Very much like Thor's not helping here, and everybody's angry. And of course, Thor loses a patient at the end of it to make it matters worse. It was like very anti-heroic and just trying to make some racial tension point here, which is just like, ugh, not fun. And so here we go. We're back to this. So Baldur's lover dies at this point, and he's trying to bring her back to life. He's doing anything he can. And like I said, the backups are just so much better than the main storylines in these. And I love this artist for whatever reason. So there we go. And back to just another deal. Moench starts to pick up a little. After that racial tension issue, it seems to get a little bit better as he's actually fighting against Asgardians at some point. The next Tales of Asgard has to do with the Valkyries. It's not as fun or as good as the storyline previous to that, but it's all right. Then he has to go stand trial in Asgard. This was pretty boring, and obviously nothing was going to come of that. Just low tension stuff and stuff that was like with very low stakes. And this one, Drax the Destroyer shows up. He's got some weird alien thing on his head and tries to kill himself by fighting, basically. Very bizarre, and was not, I don't know, just doesn't matter for Thor so much. Let's see. It gets more interesting towards the end. This annual was a weird one where there's this big Asgardian battle going on. Oh yeah, this was cool, right? The concept was really cool. All the different deities of death got together and like formed their realm into one. And there was this god eater who came out and was going to eat all of them. And then like he's a threat to all the gods because he's going to eat all the gods. And then it just like really fizzled out at the end. So like it was a almost good story with a great concept. And then it got very boring towards the end and didn't work out. Now what was cool in this annual is you got a really nice map of Asgard out of it. So this was about the coolest thing to happen in the entire Epic Collection book here, except for that Chris Claremont thing up front. And this is a weird one, the Bi Beast. That has different connotations these days. But this started out a 3-part story, and it actually probably was Moench's most interesting story throughout the book, as there's like this underwater city that Thor has to deal with, and it's rising out of the water to try to like destroy people in Florida, and Iron Man swoops in as part of this. You have to deal with Man-Thing. It was interesting, but it still fell flat as a Thor story. It felt more like an Avengers Light story, I guess. And so it didn't quite work out, but it still was probably Moench's best work throughout the issue, and it lasted 3 issues for that. And nice battle versus Man-Beast or whatnot. And then this was pretty cool. This was actually this is pretty cool too. Some Easter Island gets like some magical stuff, and these big rocks start fighting Thor. Pretty cool because of Loki. And Odin comes in and swoops in and does his thing in that one, and Deus Exes it, so it had low tension again. Just very low stakes stuff. Single one-off issue at the end, and nothing really memorable out of this. Don Blake ends up going back to like Chicago at the end of this because he's just like he loses his job because of his loss of that one payment. Thor just really isn't very heroic in this volume. Like I said, there's like a lot of losses, A lot of just like not really developing, and the Asgard stuff seemed very stagnant outside of that one Balder backup storyline. Just very sad about this volume. It's everything was mediocre at best. The Claremont issue was probably very good, but overall, I mean, this is really some of the worst writing I've read out of Thor so far. But granted, I've only read the Jack Kirby and Stan Lee stuff up until this point. And the reason I start here is because the Epic collections actually have volume 11, volume 12, and then I believe it's volume 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or something like that, are all collected. And then in between that, the ones that are missing is actually collected in the Walter Simonson Epic Omnibus. So Simonson is hailed as the best Thor. I've not read it yet, but I'm going to. And the cool part is from 11 on, I get to read a whole stretch of like over 100 issues because they're all collected between the Epic collections and that omnibus. So that's why I'm starting here. I'll be starting on number 12 next. I was going to read Fantastic Four, but I actually can't find the volume. I don't know what I did with it. I was about 2/3 done through with that volume 1, which I promised everybody I'd read. So I read this instead. This is eminently forgettable stuff. If you really want to get into Thor, I recommend skipping it and going to the Walter Simonson stuff. If you want to be a completist, go through like I am. But otherwise, really nothing interesting happened here. There were no real background characters who mattered to Thor in this entire volume. It could have just been burned and passed and nobody would have noticed. And that is the end of my review. If you like my reviews, please subscribe, like it, do the thing. I'm going to try to do these as often as I can. I can only read so fast because I got to write my own books. And hopefully I write books better than this. So hit that subscribe button, and I will be back again next time. See you later, friends.